Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to talk about the first 100 days setting up marketing for a startup. So maybe you've already asked AI about this, right? And you got a lot of information. But what I wanted to do today is something a little different than a traditional framework, is really come from real life scenarios and real questions you will see. So you can really go where it matters. But first of all, let me give you a bit intro about myself. I'm Véronique Lafargue. I'm based in Palo Alto, California, and I help startups build their narrative and growth engine. I'm a big believer that even for an early stage startup, it's so important to embed marketing in the fabric of the company so you can really grow, build foundation, and move faster. So my background, the red flag has been a lot of category creation. Fun fact, I was the first marketing hire for Google Cloud in Southern Europe at the time when nobody knew what cloud was about. And then I was an executive at Box. After that, moved to different startups to be their CMO, usually building the first marketing team. And 3 years ago, I decided to really scale what I was doing and became a marketing advisor. Also fractional CMO. I started this boutique marketing agency called Maison Lafargue. And what we do is really helping companies across AI, energy, biotech, SaaS to grow faster. I'm a Maven instructor, and there's going to be a new class happening in late October. And I'm the co-lead of the Xugler and Climate community of people who are really focusing on environment and innovative technology. And through that community, I launched a podcast, the Founder Series podcast, where I interview really amazing leaders and we talk about their strategy, their go-to-market, their innovation. This is on YouTube. In my free time, I'm also a sailor. I'm actually back from a 3-month sabbatical sailing in France with my husband, which was an incredible, life-changing time. I love baking and design. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love that, so please don't be shy. And then let's get started. So as I mentioned, I think what's really important is anchor our workshop today into something that's really real. So picture that. It's my first day. I'm walking into a Series A company that has no marketing function. And this is what my CEO tells me. We built an amazing product and just closed our 25 million Series A, but nobody knows we exist. 80% of the pipeline, sales come through my LinkedIn. I've been doing marketing myself with ChatGPT and AI agent, but it's not really working. Deals are dragging out, prospects are overwhelmed by AI vendor, and my board keeps asking about our marketing strategy, and the truth is, we don't have one. And you have another day to change that. So I think it should resonate with quite a few of you because it sounds real to me, and it's really what I've heard so many times. Before we jump into these first 100 days, I think it's important to think about the context we're in right now and why the old playbooks don't really work. We all know that capital is getting expensive. The consequence for marketers is you're going to have to be more frugal than maybe a few years ago. AI is reshaping expectation. The marketing tech stack gets really noisy. There's so many new tools. It's a little distracting, to be honest. But also everyone thinks they're an expert. They have ability to learn about marketing just with a few keystrokes. What does it mean too is your product is a little bit more challenged. You have a lot of startups popping in every single industry using AI and they move really fast. So the impact of that is your brand and trust have never been more important. So it's your durable edge. In terms of go-to-market, we see some channels evolving. So LinkedIn is getting really, really busy right now. You don't have to think just about SEO. Now you have to take into account AEO, so answer engine optimization, that's LLMs. Costs of paid media are really higher, meaning your cost of acquisition is likely going to be higher. So how do you stay frugal, smart, and also find channels that are not going to be too expensive for you? But the good news is you have a lot more marketing talents accessible these days. Fractional advisors. So if you have a few questions and needs, you can also tap into a lot of expertise. What does it mean for a marketer? I think marketers are always on the hotspot in a way, but founders have been also nurtured by the media with a lot of ideas of magic wands. There used to be the growth hack, and then there's product-led growth, where suddenly people just buy your product and without you doing anything. Another big myth. And then now AI tools. So there's a lot of education, I think, which comes with the role of being the first marketer in organization, is also how to explain what's real, what's being exaggerated, or how you can tap into some of these trends. For example, PLG is a great trend, but it's not the right solution for everybody. You also want to manage your brand from day one, from the way you show up, the way you speak, establish really your credibility. And then if most of you work for a very technical company, I think this technical knowledge is going to be really big and really critical. You can't just leave it to the PM. You need to be also the one who has depth of knowledge and understanding. And again, use AI if that helps to really understand that, have the conversation early with product and eng. It's also critical in a startup to decode the founder's DNA, right? You have to have those conversations. And as we'll see, if we talk about personal branding for the founder, if we get him on stage, or if we talk about his manifesto about the company, we are going to have opportunities to surface what he believes, his preferences, but also his insecurities. Even the most famous CEO, and I was lucky enough to work with many of them, have insecurities. And it's important to know that before you push your CEO on a stage and he's not going to be comfortable. You need to understand the perception of marketing. If someone was there before you, or the founder has had experience in the past, how were they? What is the expectation? Really important to surface that. And then look for, low-hanging fruit and early win. You need to look for massive impact. What is the pain point that's really big in the organization, and you can come and solve it? What success looks like for the startup? Are we looking for an exit, an acquisition? What does it look like for your role? And then finally, back to AI expectation, I think we expect things to be so fast these days because of AI, but especially in marketing, actually probably more whole departments, sometimes you need to go slow, and you need to set that expectation that, no, you're not going to do that tomorrow, because you need the time to really go deep and reflect. So thinking about moving fast and moving slow is going to be really a tool for you. So let's try and help these founders who have an issue with awareness. Nobody knows we exist. Very frequent, even if you have been raising money. What that really tells me is this company needs to tell a memorable and unique story. A great place I'd up starting is leveraging the founder's story and his brand, his or her brand, obviously. Building a spiky point of view. Content is going to be really easy. So what's your point of view? And then master LinkedIn. So just to illustrate that, let me introduce you to Julia Marsh. She lives in Monterey Bay. She's been growing near the beach, so all the seaweed, but also all the plastics that surround us. And she's a designer by trade. So she made it her mission to create a new type of product based out of seaweed that can replace plastics and our dependency on petroleum. Amazing story. Julia is so credible because her personal story starts there. And she's going there. You have these photos. It's beautiful. And then the company picked it up. There was 8 million, so a very early stage company, but still she got featured in so many magazines because that personal story resonates. And so many founders are starting because they're passionate. So I would say just go really big in the founder story. And it's based on this psychological effect called the singularity effect, where we care disproportionately about individuals more than group. So that's interesting. And you can always hear many founders, I'm like, oh, but I don't like it. It's personal branding. That feels self-centric. So I'm going to quote my, not friend, but a person I really like, who's Wes Cow. She's the founder of Maven. And she has this beautiful quote that you can always give to your CEO. When you have strong personal credibility, you have a deeper connection with people who believe in your work. This means you have more option, more control, and more fulfilling career and business. So it's not personal branding, it's personal credibility. Now I think everybody wants to do it. but you don't want to have a brand and no substance behind it. So again, what Wes has been teaching really well is this notion of the spiky point of view, where you build your opinion, you think about something, it's both true and surprising, but it doesn't have to be a universal truth. It's something that you have conviction about. And it's not just being controversial and saying B when everybody is saying A, right? It's something that you truly believe. Again, I'm going to mention one of the company I work with, Pinnacle. Alexi is their CEO, and he's been really passionate about the fact the company is doing AI coaching. And his vision of the world is eventually we're all going to be managers because we're going to have to manage AI agent, AI employees. He's been saying that for the past 3 months. It was internal, and we made it something public, and it's very consistent. And that's a spiky point of view. Not everybody see the world this way. People feel like agent on one side, people on the other. So that's how he created his spiky point of view. And it's resonating super well. And it's really funny. Someone the other day, a friend of mine, is like, oh, I saw this article from your CEO. Like, yeah, that's funny. We spend a lot of time discussing this spiky point of view. And I think it works really well. And at a time where content creation is so easy, that's a way to differentiate yourself. It creates amplification also because it puts you more in thought leadership. So that's opening the door for PR, for blog, for conferences. And you can also use that to test a little bit the traction, see how people resonate with your point of view. One thing I want to highlight also in this list is if you're building a new category, sometimes you need to sell the problem first. Just like when I started in cloud, people didn't think they had an issue. They didn't need cloud. They had on-premise. They had desktop application. We had to show them the problem, the limitation, and then you can pitch your categories. So it's a good way with a spiky point of view to get people to start thinking differently. So highly recommend getting to your founder. And then, strategy is small, right? You don't have to expect 1,000 on impression at the beginning or tens of thousands of followers. We're not content creator and YouTubers. It's about being relevant for your industry. So just adding here a photo about iMicrobe, industrial microbe. It's industrial biotech, more an ABM play with a few big customers. Still, we've been ramping up over time their presence on social and being really meaningful. So when fundraising arrives, we already have VCs and investors who've been really following the company and seeing a presence, because the last thing you want is dumping a lot of posts on LinkedIn 2 weeks before you go fundraise. There's always an imposter syndrome. People, especially scientists who used to be really in the shadow and just say the work is speaking for itself. You have to walk a little to get there, but with messaging pillars and some clarity and using even what you say internally. Usually founders are really good at sharing information internally. Low-hanging fruit, we repackage, we put that on LinkedIn. I do that a lot when people are on Slack. It's like, this would be a great LinkedIn article, what you just said. And then they become more comfortable with it. Consistency is the key. So just having a little bit of structure. I think it's one of the conversations you can have really early in a company in your first 100 days, and think about that. Listed some of the LinkedIn best practices. I'm sure many of you know, but it's still, because it's always changing, I think it's still worth it. Love the concept of the coworker tests. What LinkedIn algorithm really values is when people reshare. And it's almost like when you put, would my coworker reshare it? And the resharing is going to be the starting point for you to get more visibility. So play the coworker test, strong hook, make it scannable. And it's okay to pitch a little if you're selling. Usually 20% pitch is okay, 80% should be more topics, and you'll see that in the next slide. I'm just showing you this photo, Agentic AI. Great job here with the coworker test. Like, it's visual, it's interesting, 182 reposts. So people have been sharing with a lot of coworkers, and this person on LinkedIn is doing a really great job with visuals. So Canva is your friend. I just discovered Napkin. I don't have a lot of feedback yet, but I think it's interesting to create graphics from text. And obviously Gemini will be really helpful too. Some content ideas. If you don't know what to post, have a look here. Thought leadership and insights always works. Trends and predictions. Especially now, we're going to get into end of year. So predictions. An easy way also is to ask a few thought leaders in your space about their prediction, and then you can create content from it. Founder's journey, more the storytelling behind the scene. That's something super cool if you're hiring. Candidates want to see the behind the scenes. Data-driven, practical guides, awards, if you get some, always great. Hot takes, and then visuals. I want to share Laureen Menard. She's the CEO of Gob. It's a company creating wellness products out of mycelium, so the roots of mushrooms. So it's easy to recycle. Super cool. But you have to follow her, Monica. You're going to love her. And here she talks about a hot take, but she's a really, like, she has her own style. She's a really master at LinkedIn, and I see her visibility like going like crazy because she's really authentic. And you can probably see in this list over the past 2 weeks, probably use like 3 or 4 of these tactics in a very natural way. So someone who's really good at LinkedIn. Moving on to the challenge of deals are dragging out and buyers are overwhelmed. So the real question behind that is often, do we have product market fit? Do we have clarity about ICP, our ideal customer profile, and what we're trying to achieve, and how to think about pipeline these days? So I was about to say, it's twice upon a time. Twice in my career, I joined startups who were just in the process, they just signed really, really major deal with major company. And I was like, that's it, we got it. Product market fit, let's double down on the product roadmap. We nailed it. Except this one customer was actually very specific, very early, not necessarily the whole ICP. And then the CEO comes to marketing and says, so you just need to make everybody understand our product because we know it's the right product. You can waste 1.5 years just pounding product marketing messaging, thinking you nailed it, but because you stop investing in marketing, in customer research, you waste a lot of marketing energy. So that's why I think using frameworks is also a very good way to engage marketing with the executive team. So it's very like codified, and it's not like the hard question, do you think we really have product market fit? But looking at the indications. So these are 4 frameworks I really like using. The PMF stages from first round, customer discovery, jobs to be done from Clay Christensen, and then a use case maps. So nothing extremely fancy, but again, in your 100 days, you can pick one or many of these frameworks. They're going to help you have that conversation and avoid, for example, putting too much wood in the fire if actually you are not yet at product market fit. This is my own visual interpretation of first round. I wanted to make it super simple. So 4 category of product market fit: nascent, developing, strong, and extreme. And it's very different, right? For marketing, you want to build awareness and test channel fast if you're just nascent. If you're developing, you can start having more repeatable playbook in your sales materials. And if you're strong, you just invest in growth. But don't pick a growth strategy if you're in the nascent bucket. So again, the frameworks can be really helpful. Another person I really like, if you don't know, April Dunford, she has really good books on how to sell, and one called Obviously Awesome. It's for product marketing and positioning, really great. And she has this saying about your target market. It's the customers who buy quickly, rarely ask for discounts, and tell their friends about your offerings. Because we always feel like we have to give away things for free, but these are the real people. They're okay to pay for your solution because they get the value. So also some real life feedback. This is the photos, as you can guess, from the time of COVID almost. People are still masking. But when I joined Johanna as their CMO, the first thing we did is go on a roadshow in Seattle. We organized a breakfast and we talked in real life with real customers. And it was amazing because we gathered so much information. Not always scalable, but I would say if you put for yourself the possibility of doing a sprint, like whatever, 20 customer conversation, 20 days or 30, whatever you think, but something where you're really actively engaged, great way. Another thing also for Joanna that was interesting, I interviewed a candidate for a PM role, and she came, so she was young and single, but she created herself a persona on Facebook as a mother. and she got admitted into Facebook group for mothers. And she tested a lot of the messaging just before even getting into the role as a candidate, and learned so much. And she came to me, yeah, it was pretty mind-blowing. She came to me at the interviews like, this is what people are saying about your product in those behind the wall Facebook group. I pretended I was a mom. I'm like, oh my God, you're amazing. So there are really smart way to hear about what customer says about you, even if you're super early stage. That was barely out of stealth. And yeah, so understanding the needs, the willingness to pay. Also, I think many times we just take the interest for something that says more, but if there's no willingness to pay, it's just interest. And being in conversation is great to hear the language and pick up potential segments, right? So as a new person in an organization, this is your superpower. You can bring back insight to the organization. Being the voice of the customer or bringing that voice is one of the most precious things for a startup. So you come in and you can really do that. Learn the language, identify the segment, create obviously your personas, and then understand emotions, not just rational. That dated back from my time at Google. Actually, we were doing this huge international market research on mid-market. And I remember I was with the lady working on the market research. And after one day, we're like, they're just telling us what they expect us to listen to. It felt wrong. So we had to do a little game with visuals to have them talk about their emotions about, at the time it was about cloud. And they shared their fear, but they would never articulate them as a word. You had to get there in a position where they could talk about emotions. Because if you don't understand the emotions, your messaging may miss some really critical points and just really slow down your growth. Someone who's really good at getting customer feedback is Tello Trucks. So they sell a mini truck. It's the size of a Mini Cooper, and it's electric. And because of the time it takes to build a new EV, basically, they've been creating this Discord community where people who just put a little bit of money to secure to secure their future truck can communicate. And they even invented a sort of emoji-based CRM for the product team when they see things interesting in Discord to track that in their own CRM and keep track of what's happening in the conversation. But the community has been really important for them. They even made a bit of a pivot, I understand, in the product design because they listened to it. So really cool way if a Discord community is an option for you, really cool. Obviously, AI is a fabulous partner to do that. There's this article on AnyReach. I'll give you a lot of resources at the end, where the founder also shows how using and harvesting all the recorded customer conversation was able to use Gemini to classify and find themes and patterns. Really, really great use case. The classic jobs to be done, I won't spend too much time, but basically the idea is not looking just at the product, but what people are trying to achieve. And that's really interesting because achieving a certain goal can be done with a similar product, but also with something very different. So it helps you also structure a little bit the conversation, and especially the competitive conversation. And then the use case map, also a classic. You have your problem. I'm adding the trigger because I always want to know, like, what made you think this was a problem in your organization that you want to buy something. So testing with the customer, what was the accompanying event for them to solve that problem? Solution, the persona, the alternative, why you, and the frequency. That's more impacting your monetization. Just again, having this clear conversation about how often will people buy a product, so you can make realistic expectation about how big is the market you need to acquire as a marketer. If it's very frequent, if it's not super frequent, how often do you buy a mattress, right? So better have a lot of customers because you don't buy them every day. Another thing that's changed is how we think about the funnel. So this is still very valid, all the different stages. But end of last year, there was this interesting report from 6 Sense about the buying process and how it's been changing. Because as a marketer, you always want to be on the top of the funnel and maybe use your SDR and contact them and bug them. The reality is what they call the defensive buyer syndromes. buyers want to be the one contacting you, and they do all the work on their own. They want to educate themselves, they form an opinion, and then only when they're very close to the decision process, actually what we call 69% through the journey, they would contact you. So the implication for us thinking about this funnel is you need to help them top of the funnel with enough high quality info for self-education, because they may not want to talk to you for a long time until they're ready, until they have a short list of customers. Also, depending on the size of your market or the value of the market, if you have some tools, obviously Sixth Sense is in the ABM business, but understanding the signals of interest. What are the things people do? What's going to signal that they're really interested? Pretty important. And then being very rigorous with your qualification criteria. Many startups, it's you just start, from moving from the spreadsheet to HubSpot if you're early stage. So it's not necessarily super sophisticated, but having the qualification criteria really iterated, and that's where sales and marketing can create bounds from the beginning, I think is really high impact, high value. So you don't spend time in markets that are not really strong. Another low-hanging fruit in your first 100 days, look at the demos. Sit in a client demo, whatever product you have, and then spend time with product eng to really understand the differentiation and the roadmap, so you can help sales or pre-sales or whoever's doing those demos, or the CEO very often, to really adapt, maybe position it in a storytelling way, maybe use a fake customer so it's easier for people to resonate with your product. The only thing I would say, because we did that for one of the startup I advised, and they had access to a group of advisors. So we had like 6 sessions with 6 people. Then at the end, you have like so much feedback. So I would say before going into this session, ask the founder what he's really sure about and priorities, so you don't get distracted by too much feedback, but list the questions you want. So this is what you're ready to move. Otherwise, you do a 360 and it's very confusing sometimes. But demos, definitely a lot to do. As a marketer, you can look at UI, UX, psychology of it at different stage. You look at it in the context of brand, like does that product experience connect with the brand we have? And then there's always ways to polish it. And today, I think with, again, super quick tool, you can create your own video demo, show your founders like, hey, this is what it could look like if we do it differently, understanding the fundamentals. So love looking at demos, usually a great place where you can have an impact, and also work cross-functionally, start creating your reputation inside the team. So what happens if your CEO was already doing it himself with AI? It's how we reframe this AI strategy, because I think now it's really the myth of the small and mighty marketing team. You're one person, you can do everything. We can do a lot, but I think you want to start really with strategy before speed. That's true in every tool, but I think even more with LLMs. So one thing that you really have to is a style guide. Understand, like, select the best piece of your brand, how you speak, the tone for the different medium, and codify it and use it as a style guide. Because if many people are going to use different tools with different voice, you're going to have so much content going out of hand without your voice, and it's going to be really confusing. Another tip I would say, many of the tools are free, but if you can pick 1 or 2 and get the pro version, you'll get a lot more, whether it's on the privacy side or on functionalities. So I think once in a while, it's worth spending a bit of money to get tools you can really invest in and go deep, and always use, for example, your same style guide. And as we start building a bit more memory, that also means you can invest. For me, it's ChatGPT. I have the pro version. I create my GPTs. I use other people's GPTs. I have my language established. So I still play with the others, but good to invest, I think, in one more. Check pricing at scale. Yeah, last thing you want is the team to get overwhelmed with pricing after that. Home workflow for AI agentic, it's about testing it manually before doing bigger automation, because they get really difficult to untangle, and then integration with the rest of the org. But overall, I think what, as people working in tech, we still need to remind is not undervaluing expertise, because otherwise feel like AI can do everything, and that's not true. And also not expecting everything to be fast, because we need the time to think, we need the time to create. And if everything is expected super fast, I think we're going to lose a lot of the impact that you can create, especially as marketers. Layer up. I'm not going to read that, but you'll get access to the slide deck. And I think it's a good way to think about it, the different layers and tools you can use, from learn, reflect, synthesizing, writing. That's more your traditional LLM. Coding, prototyping, also very helpful. Actually, I think personal project can be a good way to play with prototyping. I'm trying to do an app for cooking. We'll see. I'm not sure it's going to be better than what exists, but at least it's going to be my recipe. It's going to be fun. A bit of research and then automation. Then that means you can make any content very easy to repackage. This is an example of thing I'm doing actually as a hobby in the Xura community. It's about the founder podcast I mentioned. So preparing for the podcast, sending the question, getting the transcript, putting it as a podcast. And then from there, we were able to do the blogs. So on my website, I have blogs for each of the interviews. And then from there, we managed to create an event. Enrique, who's here, was partner in crime in creating this beautiful event. But it all adds up. So I think it's great to use technology and efficiency. And you can even do that as a personal project, which was what I did here. Agent everything. Zapier has a lot of interesting automation. Obviously, they're the master at it, but I think now with automation and including some AI tool, it's getting really powerful. But again, test manually, because it gets complicated. New thing I wanted to share with you that I thought was so cool. It's called this Visual Electric, because prompting, I think we've all learned the importance of prompting, but when it comes to imagery, I don't know about you, but I felt like I was really, really bad at it. I never would get what I wanted. So on this website, every single one of these photos, if you click, you get the prompt, you get the model they used. It's a good way just to learn, play, and share, with the caveat that you can really spend a long time on it. So I just copy paste the prompt from the right, send my photo, and this is me on the left. So I think it was really funny. It's just not making you very productive because you waste a lot of time, but you learn about it. And I think also from what I would create on other tools where I have no experience, having a little bit of a playbook was helpful. We talked in the intro about AEO, spending a lot of time on it at the moment. I think it's really coming down to these three buckets. So this is my personal list, but you'll find a lot of experts giving you more deep dive on how to apply it for your company's content. There's a technical aspect to it, how you make all your content very readable for AI crawling, the schema, the speed, etc. Then it's your content strategy. So writing for citation, answering common prompts, the freshness, super important. So if you see people labeling their blog 2025, it's also to signal that it's fresh content to the LLMs, and also company refresh very often. Company playing really deep in that space, just like they used to play maybe in SEO, do a lot of content refreshing. Some structure, and then we talked already about brand voice, having it really documented, giving it examples, ensuring consistency. So these are the three buckets. But again, if you want more tips, I think there's a lot of experts in the space. This is what's in my own bag, tools I use. So it's not crazy, but I think there's a lot of basic tools you can get started with. And then playing with it, I just came across this ad campaign from the WWF and how they use AI imagery to get people to connect the dot between the impact on the environment and the product that people are making. I think was really creative ways. So back to my point of, hey, sometimes you want to go slow. Like it's not going to happen if you don't spend a little bit of time thinking about it. When most of the pipeline comes from the CEO network, very common too. What does it mean? Maybe we haven't really figured out our marketing strengths and we need to scale the founder. So that's what I wanted to spend just a minute on. But these are all startups that I had the privilege to work with or know recently, and they all figured out their marketing advantage. So on the top, I'm going to go around the clock. So this is Focal, and they created this beautiful heater from outside. What we worked on here is their design story, because it's both emotional, it's industrial. They use machines that make Swiss watch, and then they have the same precision to do their product. When you have a story about your product, especially physical product, go for it. It's your marketing advantage. Tell that story. We already talked about Sway. They're here and here. This is how they've been engaged in awards. Awards are a great way to get more press after that, but they also work really well on their channel for distribution. So working with existing, with Echo Enclosed, it's a company doing a lot of the packaging. Once you have a great channel, your partner can also help you move faster in traditional channels. So really powerful. This is Tello. They brought a designer in their design team, and obviously design is beautiful. And the CEO was explaining to me, like, I thought it was my baby and I had great taste, but I agreed that having this advisor, this co-founder actually, would make a big difference. And same, they tap into a huge network of advisors to accelerate their company's growth. Also marketing advantage, we can tap into these people. This is Notpla. They do eatable water. Again, a product that's so cool. They got picked up by Prince William in the UK. So using the visual, being they are part of marathon, so people give away this water that's completely digestible, also made of seaweed. So they all pick the advantages. And the last one I wanted to show you is this one. Back to Pinnacle, one of the strategy was to really work with advisors. And Shelby is a very famous CHRO. She talks about the product. So advisors can really help accelerate their channels really tailored to your specific brand. And then Monica, I wanted to mention this one for you. The Brass is Terry O'Connor. She started a brand, but it was not about her. It was really about creating a movement of women who buck norms. And I think we created a language and a visual language that was so powerful that suddenly you look at it and it's not just, yes, you know, she's another coach. No, she's someone with a vision who wants to reframe the narrative of ageism. So definitely an investment for someone who's a solo entrepreneur, but then a message to the world that we're thinking bigger. Something that can be helpful, feel free to steal this. I borrowed it, sorry, for Founder Pass, which did a really great job putting all the tactics under these two axes of what's fast, what's slow, what's cheap and expensive. So yes, building a community is great, but it's slow and a little expensive. But you can go really cheap with your webinars, and it's really fast to get feedback. So again, nothing new, but I think it's really helpful to see that in one place and be mindful about which strategy and channels you want to use. Brands are back. Yeah, you've probably understood by now, I really love branding. I think everybody really recognizes it's so important today. The VP of Growth at Vanta talks about it a lot in the recent A16Z episode. It's like, yeah, even if the tools are really smart, you need people to go back to your brand and build trust. That brand is the symbol of trust. So it's good for differentiation. It's good to create a feeling for people when they interact with your product. And it also means once you have a brand, you can also have a bit more pricing power. You don't have to play the game of cheaper. So that's, I think, really critical and important. Hack Studio, great company based in San Francisco. They have this born archetype wheel. It's a really fun game. You should do with your CEO as a marketer. Like, why do we see our brand? And it's usually a great place to have a conversation about the vision, the philosophy of the company, the emotional aspect. Are we a sage company? Are we more the caregiver? Are we the magician? So it's really interesting language, but it gets you more insights. And if you have two co-founders, I think we did that also at some point with two co-founders, and I realized they had very different visions for the brand aesthetics. So you learn a lot. And first 100 days are really a lot about learning fast and building trust. Encourage your CEO to write a manifesto. This is great for internal alignment, for motivation. You can publish it to the world. It's, again, what's going to feel and fuel your brand. And I love this one is from a VC in climate. And bringing everything. AI, great too. Mock up a brand campaign. We didn't pay to be on Moscone at Striver, but we created this fake brand campaign, and it was really good also to align the leadership team about the vision of what brand, what we stand for, this why, so important. At Breathe, we started really small and then invested in a beautiful website, both on the messaging, but also on the visuals. And this company now is a partner with Volvo and Bangel Olufsen. And we could do marketing with Volvo, I think, because partially the product was obviously awesome, but the brand was like, could stand on its 2 feet and be a really good adding value partner as a startup. So think about that too, that what you project as a startup means also you can be invited to the table of much bigger guys because they see value in you. A good work, also low-hanging fruit, look at the website when you come in. How is it structured? Are we talking at the feature level? Are we talking at the benefits level? Or can we talk at the impact level? Know exactly who's ready to buy before your competition does. Like, how big of a promise is that, right? It's so much more than, I'm a data analysis platform. Like, okay, I don't know what I can use you for. So a lot of really valuable, and I'm sure they have a customer, I don't want to say bad thing, but it's really depending on your audience. This website is also a great artifact of all the product messaging you're going to be doing in your first 100 days. So good analysis and sharing that back to the team with your curious mind, humble mind coming into the organization as new. You have this opportunity to unpack it and make it better. A lot to do with social proof. I see many companies like, oh, but we can't have permission. We need the logo. You can get a lot of social proof with very little, because not everything is product endorsement. People think social proof is all about people saying they love their product. It goes all the way to thought leadership or even category evangelism. Just having someone else supporting your message, whatever level it is. Thought leadership is great because you can get customers who are never going to say they're your customers to give a quote, be in a report. If you have a lot of money, go to HBR. Nobody says no to being featured in HBR, so that's awesome. If you don't have any money, you do it on Canva, and you can still do a lot of things. These are examples of, we even went to print magazine at some point for Striver. There's a lot of ways, but talking at a thought leadership level when you endorse really and you talk about the problem and the category is a much easier play for big people who may not have permission internally. So I created my hierarchy of asks. So you go from the bottom when it's super easy to get them to answer a survey to being part of a press reference. Press reference is hard, obviously, except I feel like when you do fundraising announcement, because people are much happier. It's hard to say no if a startup comes and say, hey, we're announcing our Series A. Can we mention you? You don't need to say anything. We just need to mention you. Usually you get a yes. So something to think about. And then scaling funnel-led sales. Again, live discussion a long time ago, and it was a haha moment for me when the CEO had his pitch and he's building the sales team and nobody's succeeding as him. And we realized everybody was trying to copy the CEO's pitch, and it doesn't work because you don't come with the same credibility. You're not established the same way. So that's why you spend time on your sales collaterals, is how you make them really tailored to someone who's not a CEO. Small thing sounds obvious, but actually it takes some work, and just acknowledging that you start from different starting point, and it's not easy to scale a CEO. And then finally, the communication point. My board keep asking about a marketing strategy. Great. So how do you leverage the board and your CEO? Obviously, you don't want to, cut your CEO by any means. But if you get the opportunity, even before a board meeting, I did that, and I thought it was really a great experience. Just reach out to the board member you're new in the job. Hey, we'd love to understand how you define successful marketing. What's been your experience? Want to introduce myself. Use the foundation before the next board meeting where potentially you have to meet and present. People are very rational. They don't want a lot of, well, it depends on the board, obviously, but usually you're going to have to get ready for context, clarity about your action, your impact, your data, and showing internal alignment with other departments. At the beginning, I think if you come back with those nuggets about, I research all these customers, this is what we hear from the market, this is how we want to improve the demo, this is how I want to do this. Like a few things where you combine observation with early action, super powerful, and you're going to build trust before you get into more data impact reporting. But use the first meeting to really establish yourself. Assess your resources. That's a simple metrics about what's expecting at different level for brand, product, and growth. But I would say it's really about hiring quickly if you have the opportunity and not keeping on the team people who are damaging your department. And it's tough because you come in a group, there's already a dynamic. It's really hard to let people go. But as a leader, I've seen that if you're too slow to let people go, it's also damaging your own credibility. So nobody likes that, but it's an important way. Have a few deliverables that you can leave behind that you're really going to use to document your one-pager strategy overview, your market analysis and ICP, positioning and narrative, your GTM plan and growth model, your content strategy, your reporting dashboard. Whatever format you like, I think you have to keep that checklist in your mind about all of these 6 points. You need to have an opinion and a plan after 100 days. Like, this is your compass and this is what you should be able to communicate. And then go on a roadshow, like ask to be at town hall and or meet people or host a breakfast. I think it's really important for marketing from the get-go to show the momentum, to build that momentum. You can't be hidden in the back working so much on the deliverable that you forget about the connection. So I think also, like, it's a sexy part of the business, right? Everybody loves marketing. People sometimes don't understand what it means. So you have a great opportunity to keep educating people about the why and how you're going to do things. And again, just like the board, what have you seen? And there's so much beauty. Like, if you're here, it's because the company already has customers and feedback. Be the one showcasing that feedback if it's not already the case. Get people excited about their own brand. So it's all going to be okay because what we do is cool and we can have so much impact. So that's, as a recap, on your first 100 day, you want to build a story, boost your pipeline, use the AI magic when it's helpful, go to the right channels where you have your strength, and then create some momentum. And that's it, because I want to keep like 5 minutes for questions. Sorry. It's hard to stop. There's so much to say about this, but you'll have the resources. I created this list for you. It started with a CMO panel we did last year, the year before, but I updated it with my own resources. As I say, I'm going to put the dates for the class, but if you already want to sign up just to be informed, I created a discount code of 25% for this group. And then there's an origin story ebook if you want, because I think origin stories are really powerful. And also, just for this group, I was talking with Mariana, we decided that could be helpful. If you want 30 minutes, talk to me about what's on your mind and you're stuck, just email me. I didn't want to send a calendar. I feel like it's too informal, but just email me on this email, and then we can coordinate something and get to know each other. If I can help you, I'd be happy to. That's it.